Hello all and welcome back. I know it's going to seem like I'm putting out a lot of videos here this week, but actually the video that I put up this week was recorded last week. So, I think it was recorded last week. I don't know, but I just wanted to make another video talking about something that I just watched or been watching. So there's a channel on YouTube called Old South Homestead. No, I'm sorry. I'm mixing my channel with his Deep South Homestead. And I watched a couple of his videos, his recent videos, and one of them he was talking about, like fertilizer and NPK and all that other stuff. There's a lot more to the video than just that, but you would have to go watch it yourself. So go on to Deep South Homestead and subscribe. I recommend his channel. But he brought up a good point talking about, a lot of fertilizer today, your commercial fertilizer, everything is based on the NPK numbers. And if you don't know what the NPK numbers are, NPK stands for nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. K is potassium. K is the, and they're probably all this way, but K is the symbol for potassium on the periodic table. And so everything is based on NPK. You buy a thing of fertilizer and you always look at what's the NPK, and those three ingredients are very, very important for growing, a garden. You need nitrogen, you need phosphorus, and you need potassium. The problem is a lot of your commercial fertilizer, and this even applies for some of your organic commercial fertilizers, they don't address the issues of micronutrients, and they don't address the issues of soil life and soil health. I look really pale there because of the sunlight, but something with a good NPK, something like 10-10-10 or whatever, is going to boost your plants to grow really fast. You'll get a lot of produce, that sort of thing, but a lot of them will be nutritionally lacking in a lot of other ways because plants can't get things out of the soil such as iron and copper and magnesium and manganese and zinc and boron and all that other stuff if it's not in the soil, if it's not there. And our soil, just in general, is, I think mostly around the world, is generally more deficient now. A lot of it is to do with us, stripping the soil of its health and fertility and resiliency and things like that with the chemicals that we use. I say we, I'm talking about, big agriculture. The things that big agriculture use to, try to get bigger yields, and they get bigger yields but sacrifice nutrition in the process. So, and he went into some other things in the video, and one of his other videos talking about, it's a video I think he called "What If We're Wrong" or something like that. And this kind of ties into what you see going on right now around the world. Fertilizer prices are probably going to be going up and stuff like that. I'm not going to get into the politics behind it all, because I'll be kicked off YouTube. But there may come a time where either we can't afford or commercial fertilizer is not available. And that's why, kind of my point with this video, I'm kind of piggybacking off of Deep South Homestead's videos, is this is why it is so important that we create our own fertilizer, we create fertility, we create our own soil health. It's vitally important. And you're going to have all these different people, you know, when people hear this, you're going to have the no-dig people say, see, that's why you got to do it this way. The permaculture people, this is why you got to do it this way, and all this other stuff. I'm not trying to get in and single out any one way as being better than another way. What I'm saying is we have to learn to make our own fertility, and we have to learn to take care of our soil, because we're not always going to have the commercial fertilizer, and it's not always best to use it, you know. So David the Goods talked about this some, like creating your own fertility and stuff like that, and one of the ways he uses is what he coined his Dave's Fetid Swamp Water, which is just anaerobic compost tea, essentially. And what he does is he takes, you know, grass clippings, and when he pulls weeds, he does that, and he'll take some, you know, chicken manure, and he'll take food scraps, and, you know, eggshells and urine and all that other stuff, and pour it into either a big barrel, a garbage can, something like that, and then you fill it with water and you let it sit. Now, here we go again. You're going to have all your big proponents for compost tea, their heads are going to be spinning right now, because they are all about, you have to have aerobic compost tea. You can't do anaerobic, you know, that's deadly, that's dangerous, all this other stuff. You've got to put aerators in it to make sure bad bacteria is not forming, all this other stuff. And there are points that they're not wrong, you know. Without aerating it, yeah, you're going to get some nasty microbes in the mix. You know, so it's true. If you want to keep it to just the quote-unquote good bacteria, you need to aerate it to, you know, keep the water moving, so it basically doesn't become like stagnant pond water, because that's essentially what it is. It's just stagnant pond water. But, and this is not something, you know, this is something that I believe David talked about the South Koreans have used with their gardening for years, is this style of compost tea. You know, this is a quicker way to go ahead and get compost tea going. And I mean, unless you're going out and taking big old cupfuls and you know, chugging it down, you really don't have anything to worry about. You know, the plant roots don't care. They like all the bacteria and the fungi and the amoebas and all this other stuff. They like it. That's what helps the soil stay fertile and stay, and soil fertility goes beyond just hitting it with some, you know, some phosphates and stuff like that. It's about the overall soil health. There needs to be a lot of life in the soil. There needs to be, from a microscopic level to a macroscopic level, you know. That's why I get excited when I see earthworms in my garden, because that means they're finding things to eat there. They're living there, and when they're living there, they're pooping there, and that's another source of fertilizer. So sorry about that. Still getting over this little sinus infection I had. But yeah, and what I mean, you don't have to worry about buying fertilizer when you're making compost tea like that. You know. So, okay, we can't get fertilizer because it's gone so far up in price. The big commercial businesses are taking it. Whatever the case is. Okay, you don't need it. All you need is a barrel, a bucket, you know, get you a bunch of the Homer buckets from Home Depot or whatever. Just 5-gallon buckets. Get you a 55-gallon drum. Get an old garbage can, you know, with that's not open on the bottom, and make the compost tea. You just take anytime you need to weed your garden or weed around trees. Don't just get rid of them. I mean, you can also chop and drop with that stuff, which is another form of fertility. But, you know, if you're weeding or all that stuff, keep them. Make a pile. Take that pile, put it in the bin, and, you know, stir it up every now and then. You know, collect your urine. I know that sounds gross, but collect your urine, add that to it. It adds some nitrogen, that sort of thing. Food scraps, all that stuff, throw it all in there and let it sit there for, you know, I think at least a month is what he recommends. You know, 4 to 6 weeks, I would say. And then, you know, strain it out and dilute it in water with it. You know, it's like a way of fertigation. And you could take, you know, some of the dead weeds and stuff that were in there, and, you know, do like a chop and drop around your trees and stuff like that with it. And the nutrients that are still there will seep down into the soil. Using just urine is a good way to, you know, dilute urine and you know, water with that every so often, you know. But yeah, in chop and dropping, where if you're pulling weeds, don't just throw them away. You know, leave them in the garden to rot down. You can mulch with leaves, you know, because if you've ever seen leaf mold, the soil underneath leaf mold is, you know, incredibly black and rich. You know, it's a great way to build up the soil fertility and the soil life and that sort of thing. You know, go find a place, where, you know, in your yard or whatever, where there's a lot of oak leaves that have just been sitting there for who knows how long. Brush those leaves back. You're going to see them breaking down. Brush them back, and then dig a little bit under in the soil right there underneath that, and it's going to be pitch black. It's going to look like potting soil, pitch black soil, because that is, it's been those, as those leaves break down and rot down, it's building up the soil life. You're also going to run into earthworms and cockroaches and earwigs and pill bugs and all that stuff. All those things are breaking down the organic matter, and it's getting into the soil. So yeah, essentially what I'm trying to get at is piggybacking off of what those Deep South Homestead videos were saying, is we need to be finding ways to make our own soil fertility, you know, making our own fertilizers and that sort of thing, and not relying so much on commercial fertilizers. And, you know, we need to focus on more than just the NPK of, you know, what the soil health, what's lacking with soil health, what's lacking with our micronutrients, and what are ways that we can do to fix that without having to rely on, you know, just always going to the store and buying stuff. You know, composting obviously is one of the best things you can do. And you literally don't need anything fancy. You can just make a pile, depending on where you live. Obviously, if you live in somewhere like a neighborhood that would restrict that, you have to be careful. But you can also, if you have food scraps and you don't want to have a pile, or if you deal with, you know, vermin or whatever like that, you don't want to attract them, dig about a 2 or 3 foot hole and bury your kitchen scraps, and essentially you've composted down into the soil. So that's just going to go directly into the soil there. You don't have to worry necessarily about it breaking down properly, because it's going to break down in the soil. The plant roots are going to reach it and feed off of it. It's not getting on the plant leaves, so there's not really any way for it to get to you and make you sick. So there are so many different ways, you know, cover cropping and, you know, turning those crops, like tilling those crops under. Yes, I said the word till, you know, calm down. You know, the no-dig gardeners need to chill out some. But tilling that stuff under, mulching, all that sort of stuff. These are all good ways to build soil fertility, to build the soil life, the microbes and the fungi and the insects that live in and on the soil. And that is how you bring about proper soil health. So I found it interesting what he was saying, because it's true. We need to be looking at more than the NPK number. But I also thought, there's going to come a day where we can't rely on commercial fertilizer. And unless you have immaculate soil, like terra preta style soil, unless you have that, you're going to need some kind of fertilizer, because our soil is not like it used to be hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So, but there are ways to do it without relying on commercial fertilizer. And we really, as we go into the future here, we really need to be focusing on doing that. We need to be looking at and focusing on ways to create our own fertilizers and be able to still, get fertility to the plants we're trying to grow. Otherwise, it'll be just an uphill battle. You'll struggle to grow anything because there's no nutrients for the plants. And when there's no nutrients for the plants, there's no nutrients for us. So I thought that was interesting. I thought I would drop a piggyback video off of it. I will tag Deep South Homestead in the description of this video, and I highly recommend going and subscribing to their channel. I believe they're in Alabama, and yeah, I think that they have good content, and so head on over there after you've seen this and give them a subscribe. And yeah, so this is with the uncertainty going on, and we all know what I'm talking about. There is a way to go about creating fertilizer on our own properties with our own stuff. We don't have to buy a ton of stuff, get fancy or anything like that. We can do it on our own, and like people used to do. And we need to focus back on that. We need to relearn those techniques. So thanks again for watching, and please leave a comment. Let me know you stopped by. Please subscribe. I feel like I just am begging people to subscribe, but I can't grow the community without help from the community. So please subscribe to my channel. And yeah, that's it for now, and I will be back next week with another video. Thank you so much.